Welcome to the Brass Junkies, a podcast from the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network featuring interviews with the world's greatest brass players by two thoroughly average ones, Lance LaDuke and myself, Andrew Hitz. Today's episode features Jeff Nelsen of Indiana University. He tells us all about playing in the Canadian brass and about fearless performance, his method for mastering the mental process of performance. He also talks about how he won a job with a major symphony orchestra while using only breath attacks and shares the most concise summary of the fundamentals of brass playing that either Lance or I have ever heard. He tells us all about it next. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Brass Junkies. I am your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by my dear friend and inspiration, Lance LaDuke. How are you doing this morning, Lance?
I'm doing pretty good, It's not bad. I'm pretty happy,
Thank you, Lance. Before we introduce our guest for this episode, I did want to tell you that our producers are Austin Boyer and Buddy Deschler of Fred Brass, and they were not able to join us, unfortunately, for the episode. Lance, do you know where they are?
Yeah, there's a big cupcake competition. They do this competitive cupcake baking thing that's sort of all the rage, and they are sort of perfecting their recipe. They've actually figured out a way to use, that blue juice, that valve oil?
Yeah, yes.
They use that as the cooking oil in the cupcakes, and there was some sort of mishap. I don't have confirmation, but I think one of them lost the tip of their pinky finger, but that's kind of all I know. Okay.
That was more information. I guess we should pray for Austin. Was it Austin? We'll say it's Austin that lost his finger.
Okay. So. There's another trumpet player missing his finger.
Well, yeah, there is that. Okay. I also need to ask that if you could take a moment to go to the iTunes store and to give us a rating. Although please ignore the beginning of this episode when you do, because it might lower it. But if you could give us a rating, and if you could take a second to write a really quick review, it will help greatly in other people finding our life-changing and inspirational podcast. So without further ado, our guest today is a professor. He is a soloist. He is a recovering chamber musician. And he's a pig farmer. Yeah, he's a pig farmer, and he's the sitting president.
He's a magician.
He's the sitting president of the Horn Nerd Club. This is
even when he's standing.
Yeah, this is Jeff Nelsen. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
Wow, that sound is really terrible.
I don't know what's happening.
Now it's better. This is going to be one of these calls, so that's really great. We've already,
as long as you can understand what I'm talking about.
About.
Sorry.
That's right. Eh?
So, where are you? Where do you be from, there, Jeff?
I'm from Edmonton. There. Ooh, that's not an Edmonton accent. Edmonton, Alberta.
What? Give us some background, because your background is pretty fascinating.
Well, like all horn players, I grew up on a pig farm with opera singing parents. Why do people laugh at that?
I was just thinking of something from earlier that was funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was born at a very early age, and then when I was 5, there was this gum under a table, so I went to play with it, and then I was 12.
What?
School wasn't for me.
I don't want that in your book learning.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
I couldn't tell you. So,
okay.
If any of you out there are wondering what the key to being hired and given tenure at a school like the Jacobs School of Music at Indiana University, the key is to not have very many college degrees and not be able to speak very well in complete sentences, and be a pig farmer, right?
Jeff.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's worked for Jeff.
Yeah, I don't have any college degrees.
Yeah, well, that's what I was being kind.
Oh, thank you.
Between the three of us, we have 2, so that's
wow.
That's good.
Are they both Lances?
No, hey now.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes. Well, that was a simple assumption. Yeah.
Jeff, did you go to college and drop out?
Yeah, a couple times.
A couple.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, so this is really cool. Of the 6 of the 3 of us, we have dropped out of 6 different degrees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty good. There's a record in there.
That's really good. I've dropped out of
Stay
2
in school, kids.
Yeah.
Get a haircut. Don't do drugs. Listen to your parents.
I think that.
But
that
as a
it.
professor, I would like to celebrate the value of going to school, and it is a good place to learn your craft. And I did, anyway.
Are you up for full professor? Like, what's with this?
Say what?
Who am I?
You have a little condescension on the corner of your mouth there.
Yeah.
let me get that for you.
So to take us through, you don't have to go back to the gum at age 5. Oh, wait, you already did. But how did you start playing the horn?
One of my sisters told me played the theme for Little House on the Prairie, those first notes, and I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, I was 12. I played for about 3 or 4 years, and then kind of quit through high school unsuccessfully. Tried to play basketball and chase girls, both very unsuccessfully.
At the same time?
That was the problem. Yeah.
You're supposed to be on the court, Jeff. On the court.
Put me in, coach. I'm fresh.
I didn't know they had basketball in Canada.
They did. They very much did. It started there with some history books. Maybe just mine. And then after
many people don't realize that Springfield, Massachusetts, is actually in Saskatchewan.
That's right.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you're the sports guy. You know all about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mutter.
Which one is basketball again? Says the Hoosier. So anyway, yeah. So then I played for 3 or 4 years, and then quit for 3 or 4 years, and took a year off from school after high school, and then went into general arts. And I wanted to be a lawyer, but then I heard you had to read what they call books and go to class, and I didn't, and I got put on probation. So then I started playing horn again, just to stay in school. University of Alberta. Played for a year, was going to stop again and become a teacher. I liked some of the teachers in my high school, so I wanted to do that, ironically. And then my sister was at McGill, and she said I had to audition there and go there. So I auditioned and got in and went there for 3 years. And then in my 3rd year, I won 4th horn in the Winnipeg Symphony and left school again.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah,
and then the next year it was a 1-year sabbatical replacement. So the next year was another 1-year sabbatical replacement in the Montreal Symphony. So that's kind of where I really learned how to train well and get what I wanted more than ever, because I really wanted that. So that's kind of where the first performance started. But yeah.
And how long did you do those sorts of gigs? I mean, when did you switch over to the chamber thing?
I did 1 year in Winnipeg, 1 year in Montreal, and then some freelancing and a Broadway show tour for a year and a half or so, and then I won 4th in Vancouver. Was 4th in Vancouver for 3 years, and then won first horn, but joined Canadian Brass instead. So that was in 2000. So I went from 93 to 2000, kind of.
What was the Broadway show?
The one on that tour was Music of the Night, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Music of the Night.
What role?
One of those tours was with Michael Bolton, of course, as well.
Michael Bolton?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's bringing me back to Office Space.
I was going to say, yeah.
And so, well, let's just jump right into the Canadian Brass thing. So the Canadian Brass, did you audition for them, or what was his interview? Or
I auditioned 2 years before that, 1998, when David Ohanian, my brother-in-law, when he was leaving. And I say that I gave him my sister and he gave me his job. It was a good trade. I miss her, but it was a good trade.
Well, I remember this. I remember this interview before it got weird.
Quality jokes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And but Chris Cooper. They went with Chris Cooper at that point for a couple of years.
Did you just say Chris?
Chris Cooper. He was very good in the Canadian Brass. With Principal Horn for some time in Singapore as well.
The Tholo horn. And he was there for 2 years, and then when he left, Chuck just called me and she called and said, hey, I got we have a fast-moving train here, wondering if you want to jump on. And I remember when I agreed, I wrote in a little pad. I wrote, "Wow, August 24th, 2000, 9:43 p.m. Wow, it's an amazing moment."
You still journal?
That was my last journal.
Threw it on the fire.
Yeah.
Retired to the back 40. Story complete. So how long did you play with the Canadian Brass?
I'm a real quitter. I went for 5 years and left for 3, and then I did 3 years and left again. First time I left to get married. Second time I left, we were having our son, our 5-year-old son. He was not 5 years old at the time.
How old was he when he was born?
He was 0.
He was very young.
Canadian exchange rate.
Oh, goodness.
So you quit the second time, and you do what?
You mean the day I teach at Indiana University.
And had you been, so that was more of a traditional, you auditioned, or I should say interviewed and applied, or was the thing they came looking for you?
They had 5 people. They invited 5 people to come down and audition for the position. I had at that point been playing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on Broadway for a year, and that show closed, and I was completely unemployed. And my wife was going to Philly to go to opera school, so I was going to move there. I remember I called Jeff Kernow. I was thinking about maybe I could try and start a quintet or something, and then. And then you invited me to go down there and got the gig.
Who would have been in that quintet? Hang on, let's pause a second. Who was going to be in that quintet?
I don't know. Well,
let's
guys
put it together right now. Yeah, us, of course.
It was just it would have been the 5 of us. Yeah,
that's
5.
That's 4, dude.
That's 4. I carry the 1. Damn it.
We're the world's smallest brass quintet.
Don't do
A
that.
couple, you were really tall, so we're going based on average height.
Wait, what I want to know is what did Jeff Kernow say to you? Did he yell at you? Did he laugh at you?
You know what? I'm not even sure I actually called him. Maybe I just thought I would.
Wait a minute, it's getting good.
He wasn't ever even in
That's
Canadian Brass.
right. And Phil Smith was going to be in it, and Joe Aletti, and Harvey Phillips decided to come back to life and play in my quintet.
I called Jeff Nelsen, and he was unavailable. That was it. Damn it.
This is great. I'm going to just randomly pause and ask you to explain more, because clearly you're just making stuff up now.
And
sorry, I almost had to bleep that. I saved a bleep.
I was in art school so that I could become a lawyer, and then I dropped out and instantly won a symphony gig. And I mean, it all sounded so plausible. Oh, goodness.
Should we start this again?
I doubt it.
No, not really.
So let's talk about magic for a second. When did you start doing magic?
Thank you. I was 12. I went to California to visit my cousin, and he did a magic show, and it was cool. Next day, I was at the Disneyland magic shop and bought my first couple tricks.
What were they?
It was the rainbow rod. I would do it if this was video. I still have it. And I cheated at it.
You cheated? What do you mean you cheated?
I didn't read the instructions for about 5 years, and then when I read the instructions, it made it way easier. So read the instructions. It was basically, you want to hear the story of this one?
Of course.
So it's a 6, there's a rod, a little thing you hold in your hand, like a spoon thing without the spoon part. And you show both sides, and there's 6 colors. And
wait, hold on, stop. It's like a spoon thing it's like a spoon without the spoon thing?
Are we going too quickly for you?
Well, what is isn't a spoon?
You mean it's like a chopstick?
Yeah, a spoon is kind of like one thing. So if you
True. The spoon handle part.
It's like a fork without all the forkiness.
It's like an axe, but with no axe.
Without that, yeah.
Anyway, okay, continue.
Okay, should I talk slower a little bit, Lance, for your friend?
I don't get it.
Smaller words.
So there's 6 colors, and they're all different. Okay, and then I say, what I would say is pick a number between 1 and 6, and I have to get them to pick the color in the middle, and then I make it turn that color, and it's kind of a cool trick. But I'd say pick a number between 1 and 6, and if it wasn't 3 or 4, which were the numbers that I could make count to that color, I'd say, okay, pick another number. 3 or 4. And then I read the instructions, and it was a genius because if they picked 1, you could spell O-N-E, and if they picked 2, you could spell T-W-O, 3 and 4, and then 5 is F-I-V-E. It's genius.
Oh, that's
it was hilarious.
So for whom would you do this trick?
Birthday parties.
And did you get paid?
I did.
How did you set these up?
Well, we didn't have the internet back then, Lance, so we just I did friends and family. It was really not that many gigs.
And how many tricks did you have? Like, how long was your set?
17.3 tricks. It was probably 20 minutes.
And you had patter? How was your patter? I'm guessing you had good patter.
Yeah, it was like things like pick a card, any card,
Yeah. Who did you look up to magician-wise? Like, who were the guys you looked at and thought, well, if I could do that?
Dennis Brain.
Dennis Brain and Blaine. David Brain.
David
Brain. Herman Copperfield. But what's interesting, now at IU here, we can do this individualized major where you can design your own major. Will Shorts did it for crossword puzzles, and I had a student and advised him, and he got his degree in magic. And he's amazing. Jordan Gold, his name is out in LA now, and professional magician. And yeah, and then he put magic and bartending together, started a company, Magixology, and did all this stuff. So it's been a real big part of my life in many ways. And then I, of course, do some explosions in my TED Talk and concerts. And yeah. And
compare see how I'm going to turn this around. You ready? So compare preparation for a trick that you're learning or a new effect to learning a new piece.
That's why Lance is a professional podcaster right there.
That's it. See what I did?
Super segue master.
Thought we were just wandering around in the desert and bang.
Yeah,
right
I hear a new desert. Well, it's quieter. One of them's a lot quieter. And yeah, it's identical. It's really great. You work on the technique, then you evolve it into a story, and then you go share it. And it's exactly, that's one of the things I really loved about it. And I was on a lot of planes, so I had a captive audience. If I sat on the aisle, I just turn and say, okay, pick a card. Crap! All right, let me try in another hour. I'll wake you up.
Pick a number between 1 and 6 that isn't 1, 2, 5, or 6.
Ready to go.
Pick another number.
And I kind of laugh. I go, okay, pick another number.
That's
every time I think, no.
Here's this is a related. I'm gonna periodically go off and back onto the reservation, but a little bit about me. I like playing ukulele, and what I find is when I'm practicing ukulele and I go back to playing the euphonium or trombone, I haven't lost any ground. I've gained ground because I'm still working on the development of a fine skill. Not fine as in, hey, that was great, but fine as in, specific. Do you have a similar kind of effect where even though it isn't musical, it informs or somehow enhances your horn playing?
Yeah, I think so. And it's really that dexterity work brings the mind, has to clear up the mind and get constructive, I think, with repetition and learning. But for me, the big thing might be a little different as far as, or there's another one, which is the story making exercise of really spinning that trick into an effect and into an illusion or into magic versus just the trick part is just the technique. So adding that story is and then that pulls the technique along as well, right? I love this quote. It says there comes a time start that again. There comes a time when what pushes you begins to pull you. It's really great. So you're
your
trying
quote?
to.
I like that.
No, it's not. No, it was a friend of mine.
It's yours?
In the business world, it's a bit. We're talking about entrepreneurship, but isn't that great? Yeah, you want to get there and you want to make this thing into this thing, but you're not sure yet until it goes over the top of the hill, and now, wow, it's this thing that has momentum.
So how cool would it be to have the brass quintet that everybody was a magician as well?
Probably pretty dorky.
We could because you ready? The payoff. We just make the trumpet players disappear.
Ta-da! You're welcome, folks.
Okay.
What we're gonna do now is sit here and play without, what are they called again? Oh yeah, melodies.
Overrated.
That's the least important part in my
We need
book.
him for that. I know. Damn it.
Yep.
And comedy fodder.
Speaking of trumpet players, we can get this out of the way early. As you know, our dear friend Jens Lindemann has been going through some chop problems of late, and I was just wondering if you wanted to offer up any words of encouragement or advice for dear Jens.
No.
Sweet.
Well, I think the first step is admitting it, and really, I think we've done that, and we've really brought it into the light of day so that he can really feel the support and love of all of his dear friends. And I think the second step is some long tones. Love tones? We could call them love tones, because that's what we're doing here.
Because he
It's
needs
true.
to
This
fall
is like
back
an
in love with his
intervention.
chops. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a chop intervention.
Yes. I think we can stop worrying about people not knowing. That's the real gift of what you guys are doing here.
Oh, we
The
give
life of
gifts all the
secrecy.
time.
That's fear, right? That's really,
Shining a light. That's right.
yeah, there comes a time when mouthpiece pressure begins to pull you. No, I can't get that. A helpful embouchure thing.
So how did you tour with him? Were you in the same time as?
Yeah, about 8
Nancy?
months. I joined. And we grew up together in Edmonton. Quote, in finger quotes, grew up. We got older together as two children. Yeah, go way back. He's a big brother and real inspiration, huge driving force, and I think a big.
No. You're talking about Jens Lindemann. That's what I'm talking about. Different Jens.
You know, the guy with the Porsche.
The other Jens. The other white meat. And we're back to pigs. See how I do that? It's all just like it's almost too easy.
Balance.
I'm glad that you keep pointing out what we should be impressed by, because I think we'd all be missing it otherwise.
It's the only way I get through life.
So, talk a little bit more about your relationship with Jens growing up. How did he? When's the first time that you guys played together?
There's a picture of us at Music Cameras in Alberta. I think he was in youth orchestra, but I think he was in before me. So it's just like, I want to do that. I'm like that, and he played the Artunian concerto in front of the youth orchestra. It's just incredible to see that. And then he was going to McGill University way out in Montreal, and then Juilliard and everything. When I went to McGill, I lived in his apartment, and just kind of following when he was in Canadian Brass. I remember that moment at McGill. Everyone was like, "Holy!" We can swear on here, or we can't.
You can.
Marty?
You're just gonna produce some work for our producers.
Oh, okay. But what is Marty's record?
Seven bleeps is
That's really too bad that I had to beat that.
There you go.
Marty. So back to Jens. Yeah, he was just always kind of ahead, and I was wanting to do the stuff that he just, as a Canadian, as a person that I knew doing these things, I was like, wow, then okay, why can't I? Why can't I? Why don't I go for it and let the world tell me if I deserve it or not? Just going forward and all that. Yeah. And last time I played with him was down in Mexico. We did a music festival last Christmas, and yeah.
So how many years have you been at IU now?
This is my 10th.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty crazy. How big's the studio?
I think like 30 by 20.
Yeah.
We have a
window?
We have a window.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. There's 45 horn students there, probably about that. We have 17 or 18.
How do they all fit in a 30 by 20 studio?
I know, quite, yeah.
How many students do you have?
20. I don't actually know how big the studio is. 17?
Wow.
Yeah.
And from freshmen through grad students, or are you focused in one area? Or are you just divvy them up? How do you decide who gets who?
The noise that they make sounds good, and that they have clear goals, and that they can, that they're open to learning. I think it's hard to get that in a 15-minute audition, but I usually have a lesson with them as well. And yeah, it's really hard to, tell 45 hornists that we're going to get you all jobs, which is something I think we're saying to a degree at school. But yet, so we're equipping them with way more than music at the same time. But it's important to have people there that are open to learning and eager to learn in new ways. All the stuff in my 10th year now, it feels way better investing in them and having that, knowing what's the work that they have to do while what's the work that I can do there to help push them along. It's a real balance.
So what else are you training them in other than the playing of the horn?
Well, the rainbow rod trick has served a few of them well in job interviews with the new rules of, entrepreneurship. And really
Jens's stage name in high school was Rainbow Rod, but that was for a different thing.
Oh, dear. And scene.
Wow. I'm teaching them.
But you could only have them pick a number between 1 and 3.
And you can use negative numbers.
Oh.
Sorry. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Hey, this is Lance. We'll get you right back to the interview in just a minute. I wanted to, first of all, thank you all for listening. You've been wonderful. We've got hundreds of you that are listening to every episode, and that's just great. It's very rewarding to Andrew and me. And we wanted to let you know that if you're interested in helping us cover the costs associated with recording and uploading and storing these podcasts, there's a quick and easy way for you to do that, and that's through a site called Patreon, Patreon. And at Patreon, if you sign up through that site, you can pick a dollar amount, $1, $3, $5, $10, however much you want. And every time we upload an episode, your account will be deducted for that amount. And you can set an upper limit per month or per year so that if we end up uploading additional content, that you won't be charged more than wherever you set that limit. You also will get access to some free downloads and behind the scenes things that Andrew and I are working on in preparing for future episodes. So if you're interested in helping out, we'd love to have you help you. Thank you very much for listening. Spread the word. Visit pedalnotemedia.com, click on the donate button, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. And now, back to your regularly scheduled podcast, already in progress.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I have no idea.
What skills are you teaching them beyond the horn and the rainbow rod?
Rainbow rod.
Connecting the two, really. Entrepreneurship. And they all have to have a website.
Pause for a second. What do you mean? What entrepreneurship? We, myself included, we're throwing that term around a lot. What does that mean to you? What do you when you say someone's entrepreneurial?
It means I know a big word, and I can codify it into salient, rather garrulous gestures. I mean, taking an idea and making it into something that gives value and gets value for yourself.
No, that's a really good definition.
That is.
Yeah, to contribute value out there. And if you do that, then the business side can come. I mean, you have to build the business as well, but it's not just business. Yeah. What about you guys? I'm sure you've talked about this a lot, but
it's tough. Yeah, I think. Well, Andrew, what do you think?
I don't think I've heard a better definition in terms of just being succinct than the one that you just gave.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's that absolutely
want to get it out there.
Yeah,
and value to provide.
And yes, exactly. I talk a lot in presentations about how musicians are frequently can be uncomfortable with selling what they do, and first of all about how quickly they'd better get over that if they, as Lance likes to say, if they enjoy eating food and living indoors, then they need to get over that quickly. But the thing is that if whatever you're offering, whether it's a service or a good or whatever, that is going to improve the life of the people, it's going to help them with a problem, or it's going to entertain them and take their mind off of things or whatever, then it's like, yes, you're going to be getting money, but their life is going to be improved as well. And so where in there should you be feeling bad about selling yourself? You shouldn't.
Yeah, and it can, the good thing is if you're giving value, you can let go of the label of selling. You're not selling, you're giving value. And that's what I'm doing. I think and I realized when other people were saying, yeah, you're good at this, putting yourself out there and selling yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in my heart, I am just trying to help. I am also trying to, earn money so I don't have to work on a farm. I love farming, but that's work. So I'm
Sure.
compelled with the reality that I would, music and fearless performance and all these other things. I always say it beats working, doing what you love. Yeah.
That's really funny that because people do that's that kind of you're really good at selling yourself thing is sort of derogatory. I mean, not sort of.
Yeah,
It's a
maybe. Yeah.
derogatory kind of
It's
assumption.
intent.
Like the only reason I'm doing this has nothing to do with helping anybody or making anybody's life better or making another musician better or sharing ideas. It's about the bottom line. And I don't think anybody that I know that is doing it as well as you are, Jeff, is cares at all about that. I mean, I can't say you don't care about it at all because you do like living indoors and eating food, but that isn't the primary reason to do it. There's lots of ways to make money.
Hmm.
Even
Yeah.
even if you're Toyota and you sell me a Sienna minivan, then I mean, that's obviously that's different. That's just strictly a consumer goods that a piece of consumer goods that has been manufactured for me, and I'm never going to meet anybody that designed it. I'm never going to meet anybody that made it or that transported it or any of the above, and yet that has improved my life. I am now able to easily get my son, my wife, my dog, myself, and multiple tubas and a whole bunch of stuff to places, which is something that is important for me. So it's improved my quality of living, and it has improved their bottom line because I gave them a whole bunch of money because those things aren't cheap. And yeah, there's and they will have a future customer in me, which is kind of the same thing. Where if someone goes to your Fearless Performance, one of your Fearless Performance boot camps, and it's terrible, and you're showing up, and it's obvious that you've not thought at all about what you're going to say, and that you're just kind of charging people to hang out with you for a little while, then some people will like it, a bunch won't, and it's not going to go very far. But if it's a life-changing event, then they're going to tell everybody they know, and they might come back, and so it's kind of all the same stuff.
Yeah, it's a big, branding buzzword thing that's way beyond a buzzword now. But it's not going anywhere. I think that one's very much a big part of it. Last night I was the host of this TEDx event here in Bloomington, and that's another first for me, another wild thing that I shake my head and could never imagine myself doing. And it was for 3,000 people in the IU auditorium, and I was the host. I wrote all the stuff I said about everybody and really guided the tone of the night and everything. It was very important how I talked after each talk, whether I'd bring the vibe up or down or slow it down, all these different things. And it's such an important brand that you want to do that. You want to reveal its value and to make sure that's what hits to the people in the hall. But that is what sold that event, is how trusted that TED brand is. I asked at the beginning how many people had seen a TED Talk, and all the hands went up, 3,000 hands. And then, how many had not been to a live event, and most of them hadn't yet, but then they were just bursting about the event. It was really great.
Can we talk about Fearless Performance? How did you start that? What's that story been?
I mean, it comes from a place of a lot of fear, and I would walk out on stage eager to perform and walk off stage disappointed, having not performed near my best a lot. So I had to figure it out pretty quick. And it was at auditions, I think school auditions, where I ranked, I think 6th on my first one, and then 18th on the second one, and then second, first job. But I figured it out quick, and I didn't want to sit 18th horn. But I had to for a whole semester. And then I had to figure out how to play my best on my first version. It's very different than, what I can do. So I've labeled that the quality gap between what you can do and what you actually do. And you got to close the gap. So what you do, we will never hear your second version of anything. That's what I had to figure out for these auditions. And I was driven to, so it's, there's another big lecture I do, just how much do you want it? Very goal-based. I want to play in that orchestra, or I want to do those things. So I had to get fearless. I really noticed fear was the thing keeping my quality gap wide, and I was playing way less than my best. until I replaced the fear with other things. And when I walked in there to just share a great Mozart, and here's this great Prokofiev excerpt. Here's how I like it, and I've trained myself to play it in a way that ends up being impressive and hireable. But when I'm in there, I'm just executing. So that worked. That just started snowballing. I think the amount of success I got from doing that, and I had to keep structuring it. I taught it at the universities I taught at along the way until with Canadian Brass in our master classes, they would always go, "Okay, Jeff, we'll do your Fearless Performance talk, for 15 minutes," and I'd just go throw some structure on it. I've been doing that ever since.
And what form is it taking now? Like, what all is involved with the Fearless Performance empire?
Well, at this point, I'm finishing structure for a video course that I was going to be shooting this month, but now, since we're having a baby in January, I will do it in the spring, so sometime in March or April. Not you guys and me are having a baby, but my wife and I.
Oh, man. Boy,
yeah,
I think
I was freaking out there for a second.
I know. He was like, We're having a what?
I think now is when we're supposed to congratulate him, Lance.
I know. I was thinking, if we were women, because they're nicer people, they would ask questions about it, and they would say, "Oh, that's great." And
or at least a little. I thought a little.
They were like, "Ooh, right." But no, we're just dumb guys. It's like, yeah, whatever.
I'm thinking, those
those
things are money pits.
Yeah, it's more fearless training.
Yep.
And then from that video course, that structure, we're gonna. It's just kind of funny at this point to say I'm going to finish the book, but I've been doing weekly newsletters. I stopped in the summer, but I did almost a year of newsletters once a week. That was a really good process for my writing. And then, so I do 1, 2, and 4-day seminars as well, Fearless Performance seminars, 1 or 2 in Bloomington every year. And then I kind of going all over doing the 1 or 2 day workshop where I give them some ideas, but then they experience it. They go off in the room and performance peer for each other, one-on-one. One person applauds, the other person walks in front of them. And that's where we start to fear, right, is when we walk. I make decisions when I'm walking on stage. That's the difference between the practice room and on stage. So that's what we do. We have them walk, 2 steps in front of the person and then perform and then say something they did well afterwards. And they learn through the experience of it. It's really great, really fun to watch. That's my favorite part.
What influenced this? What books or resources or talks, or how much of it was just your own experience? I mean, where'd you draw from to put together your empire?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I'm going to go one step back there, where a big moment for me, or time when it was really pushing me. Montreal Symphony, I had a lesson with somebody, and he said, just do a breath attack on that low note. And I did it, and I came in on the partial above. And he's like, yeah, see, you're using your tongue to skip that partial, and you need to know this and this about your technique, and you need to know this. And it was like a week before the audition, and I was like,
oh boy.
Okay. So, fast forward to that night, 4 a.m., I'm standing in my living room in my pajamas with my horn going, not being able to start notes.
Good heavens.
And luckily, or whatever, creatively, I air attacked all those notes enough and well enough to win the audition. That was in Montreal in '94, and since that day.
Wait! What audition did you win using air attacks?
Montreal, the low range. At this point, it was just in the super low range. So the soft.
The Montreal in Canada.
Yeah, they don't tongue there.
Hey man, Montreal Canadiens fans, you can't say anything that would surprise me. So as a Bostonian, so yeah, that's the nicest thing I can say about them, that they don't tongue there. So yeah. Anyway, I'm just bitter that they're the best team in hockey and that my team is a dumpster fire this year. So please continue.
Wow. Don't bring up the Expos, okay? So yeah, I've since then, I almost quit the horn a few times after that, and it was a real living hell for a long time, not being able to start notes. And I still have that in my playing. I call it a hesitation. A lot of people call it a lockup. Do not call. I'm going to go work on my lockup. What? Yeah, call it a hesitation and work on it and be a solution. But anyway, so now I teach brass players all over the world and Skype lessons on how to get over that hesitation. I have a fantastic system, and that problem was a huge gift for me to have to figure out, and I can teach it. And I teach it with my students a lot, a real timed system. And and everyone who has that, it's not there when there's a conductor, and it's not that, there's certain ways and music is the solution. So it's that whole fearless thing. So that, I think, really was a wall that I had to creatively get around, over, and fearless performance was the way through that. The name fearless performance kind of just got stuck to me because I started calling it that a little bit, and then others started doing the same thing. Yeah.
The one of the things that's come up on the show a number of times is hearing all these amazing players talk about the fact that at various times in their career they thought about giving up, and obviously none of them did because we're still talking about them and to them and listening to them. But what kept you from quitting? Why didn't you quit? How close were you to quitting? Like, what? Do you remember any of that?
Yeah, luckily each time it got pretty bad. I had a job to do. And I remember Dave Griffin was playing associate principal in Montreal, and we were going to do Beethoven 9, and there's a big fourth horn solo. I was playing fourth horn, and I went and asked him, do you mind playing? And he never, asked to play it. A lot of times the first horn plays it, and I was first hoping he would ask to do it, and he never did. So I went up to him really sheepishly, and I was like, really, I never forget this moment. I went up, and said, hey, would you mind playing the solo? And he just kind of looked at me, and I'm having some problems, and he's like, you'll be fine. And it was amazing. And I had to figure it out and go through the fire, And then with Canadian Brass on the tour, did this Cayman Quintet. There's a cool video of that online.
Yeah,
but
cool.
Yeah, it's a great piece. And Chuck would talk about movies, and before we played the piece, every time my heart was racing, and because at first it starts with the horn, just do da da dee, and he would talk about movies, and we'd make a joke, and then he'd go, Jeff, hey, everybody, listen to Jeff play the, it's a horn feature and all this stuff, and I'd stand up front, and it would be many nights. It would be da da dee, hopefully the audience didn't hear all the but my ego and my career and everything, lived and died every night for a while. It was not fun.
Wow.
But get through it because it's amazing. And there's, how much do you want it,
Well, how would the other guys in the group react? There's, when you're on stage with somebody who's having a issue with a thing or having a tough night, what was that like either on stage or off after the fact?
Really great. I mean, there wasn't much talk about it. It was just something. It's such a long-term thing, right? 100 shows a year or whatever. It was really great. It was a good vibe, and they didn't make anything of it ever, and everybody's got their things. I don't know if I brought it up that much even as well. But, and then, another thing, I would lose once a year, I'd lose an octave off my range, and I couldn't play softer than mezzo forte. And it was usually during the Christmas tour. And the fourth, so when doing one-nighters and going through New York for our double quintet thing. But my wife figured out when the fourth year had happened that I was getting like 3 or 4 hours sleep instead of, 5 or 6. And, this is going to hurt. So I was really breaking down the cells in my body. And my bottom lip would turn into an old tire. So it was stupidity. But, to figure it out, it hasn't happened since. But that was 3 or 4 years of, really, and I realized no one concert is going to kill you, and that you stay on what you can do and being able to try and manifest that out on your first Virgin over and over.
Something just popped into my head, and I haven't really thought of it this way, but there's this self-examination and analysis and diagnosis that we all, I guess, have to go through. Did you have sort of an epiphany where you thought, okay, this is a thing I need to do, or did you think that just sort of happened naturally? I'm going to pick this apart and listen to my wife's advice or counsel from the principal player.
Yeah, good question. And you were asking me earlier, what books I drew from and everything, and that was the thing. I stayed in it because I loved it, I think. And it, looking back, it's to analyze it. It's just, 1 minute at a time, one note at a time. I think I didn't really. Are you going to quit? Yes or no? If no, then keep going. So I kept going. And The Power of Now was a really good book of presence, because then I'm not. You're not every note you've played before that and all that baggage and history and emotional scorecard. You are just what you got to play now. Get present and get in there. And the 3 guiding principles that I've adopted and making posters about for Fearless Performance is learn, love well, and let go. And that really drove my choices. And there's not a problem I've seen since I've come up with that, not new ideas, but put those 3 together. There's no problem those don't solve now. It's really great. We're basically learning what we can love well and what we can let go of. And it's just the most louding, screaming musical bar before I play a note. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and it drives me. And I can't not start that note now. I mean, I still can if I don't do that, but it's really driving each note one at a time.
Boy, that stuff just comes from that stuff generally just comes from age and from experience and having those awarenesses. But so if you're a young, even youngish, player, and you can attend one of these workshops or tap into that kind of a line of thinking, your playing will just absolutely catapult forward. Because, like you said, the emotional scorecard, you could even be thinking a lot about how well you always play this, and then that can trip you up.
I got this quote from Marty. I think it was come on, if you are a man, you'll be a man. Who I can't remember who the quote is from, but it's if you can approach both success and failure and treat both these imposters the same.
Wow. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You'll get to a point where once you've done all of the work, where it really is just the mental side of things. I remember one year at Christmas time. What is it about Christmas? That's kind of funny. One year at Christmas time, there was the J.D. Shaw's arrangement of the Nutcracker, like 3 dances from the Nutcracker. It was the Russian dance, where the tuba, I had the melody, and I had done the work. I could play it. Like, I could play it really well. And there was one year where the first one, where it just like that ascending lick just sounded like tuba usually sounds. It sounded like someone was falling up a flight of stairs. And then I was practicing it, and then like the second time came, and a couple of days later, and I practiced it a ton, and it was going great. And then, in that moment, I was just thinking about the first time, and then it sounded terrible again. And then before the third one, I remember I was practicing it backstage, and I remember Jens, recall for Mr. Lindemann, who was there. In a loving but in like a busting on me kind of way, he was like, yeah, we get it, Hitch. You can play that lick really well. And it's like, because I just kept playing it over and over again, like many trumpet players will do with licks that they can play well just to make sure everyone hears them. But it was like I was desperately trying to cling to something, and I wasn't focusing on the right thing. It had nothing to do with the fingers or the tonguing or the ear being connected to the horn. That stuff was all beyond reproach. It was just that in the moment that I was not letting go, and that I was focusing on the past, both the past, like, wait, I used to play this so well, and now I can't. So it was like this multi-layered focusing on the past, and then I screwed it up a third time, and then I ended up getting past it, and I can play that lick in my sleep now because I just focus in the moment. But man, is that an advanced concept.
It's got to bum your wife out if you're doing that in your sleep.
That's true. Scary stuff.
We live in different houses.
Just because of that lick.
Yep.
I find myself a lot now saying you're being right about the wrong things, and though you're right, it feels great to be right about the problem. You can be absolutely right about it, and it's way scarier to be right about how awesome it could go. You're way less guaranteed on that. But I think, it's to find focus in the chaos. The problem is thinking that chaos is bad. No way, chaos is coming. So if I just stay in there, this is what was coming that's gonna be the problem. Okay, and then deal. Find focus.
That fear of I talk to young students about this a lot, where fear of success can be as damaging as fear of failure. We don't want to miss a note, but if all of a sudden we hit all the right notes, then there's more expected of us, and we need to do it again next time, and we may have other opportunities where we're thrust into the spotlight where maybe we don't want it. And there's the way the lizard brain, as Seth Godin would say, it messes with us is pretty insidious.
Yeah.
Who do you read? Who do you look at for what do you listen to, watch, read? What's charging your batteries now?
Yeah, the Brendan Burchard does these 5-minute YouTube videos. They're free. Subscribe to them, and they're really great. It's all these different titles they're really clearly labeled to, and getting over fear, or what 5 aspects drive success, and all. And he's an entrepreneur, and he does these Experts Academy, High Performance Academy, all this stuff. But he reads, I think, he's read a book a week for the last 10 years.
Wow, that's like over 30 books.
I know, times like 2. But yeah, he cuts a wide swath when he speaks, when he draws from a deep pool, and it's really good. And his book, Motivation Manifesto, just open it to any page. And it's a free book too. You sign up and you just pay for shipping. Beautiful leather-bound book. And he works with Tony Robbins and all these things. But you open it to any page and you go, wow, that's what I needed today. That, and then the little book of success, like a little book of talent, talent code. And then the little book of talent is 50 little daily talent tests or talent challenges, opportunities. And it's really cool stuff. I do that in my morning routine class now. We read one each day. Like, okay, check this out. Try writing down on a little piece of paper what your goals are and collect it. And yeah, Power of Now is another one. Open to any page, and it's just, whoa, I totally needed that.
Talk us through the morning routine class.
7 a.m. When I first got here, I did it 5 days a week, non-mandatory. Now it's 1 day a week, mandatory. If I'm, and we, excuse me.
Which day?
It changes, different each week. I put it up on the Google Calendar. Because some people can't be there.
I guess I've been pronouncing that wrong.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so, say what?
Never mind. I'm sorry. Keep going.
7 o'clock. I mix it up quite a bit, but there's some buckets of templates. Like I start with. I did these audio tracks. They're not really. They're setting your intention and attention. Audio tracks on my website that are about different interesting things. One of which I'm going to go off track already, but it's such a wonderful concept that it's the woman who married my wife and I, and she's a multi-denominational spiritual learner, leader. And she said that one of her mentors said, you are one of the most, and this is what we listen to, these audio tracks to start our day, 5 minutes of talking and 5 minutes of silence. And you meditate, you can get ready. And she said, her mentor said, you are one of the most arrogant people I know. And she's like, what? Arrogant? What are you talking about? I'm so busy thinking less of myself. And he's like, yes. And that makes you arrogant. And that the act of separating yourself, either thinking more of yourself or less of yourself, either way, is arrogance. That you think you're the one with the problems, or that it's really great to smack you out of the pity party if you call it arrogance to think less of yourself. So we listen to those audio tracks and just kind of get the thinking going, and then usually start with a breathing exercise. There's a great Doug Hill from his book on 60 warm-ups and routine book, or some breathing gym exercises. And we do it kind of like walking around, kind of, instead of being athletic and doing unique brass player breathing. It's just inhalation, breathing forward. I say a lot too, so you're breathing forward into that note, and really set that intention. And then I have some exercises that I've created that I'm crazy obsessed with. One I just call long tunes, and then longer tunes, and they're long tones with a tune. And before that, I do a thing called stupid lips, where you just blow out for 2 seconds and then bring the lips together, and whatever note happens. So you're not getting those embouchure muscles in the way and making an embouchure and having your lips be the resistance. Lean against the metal and, have the lips get caught between a vocal airstream and the mouthpiece. And really let go of the embouchure and buzzing. No, you're not buzzing. The air is vibrating off your lips. I love that idea of sound production. Get the lips out of the way. Make them as little importance as possible. and then take that to air attacks in these long tunes that I can send you guys the PDFs if you post PDFs with this stuff. Yeah, a really, really great set. And then, longer tunes are just, you go around the harmonic series a bit with the same, next notes, with the least amount of embouchure work, and then start skipping notes a little bit gradually, and then add the tongue. So we're doing air attacks, then you time the air attack, then you're slurring, and then you add the tongue to the slur. So you're not pushing to tongue, you're sprinkling the tongue on like a spice. I don't know how deep you want me to go into this routine stuff, but
This is great.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, and then we do go into custom routines. I'm developing another awesome exercise I've had a lot of success with myself and my students is we're calling it heart beating, and I wrote out like the saraband from Bach's Fifth Cello Suite, and it's just putting the tongue up in the front. Excuse my lack of pitch, that's why I play horn. But tonguing up in the front, you can't push to tongue. It's this magic self-moderating thing when you do. And it started with having a student doing a Brahms excerpt with, but I had him go, again, I'm sure not a new concept, but that when you crescendo with the tongue up in the front without pushing air, you can't push air for each tongue if you crescendo one long phrase. Does that make sense? It engages the back of your head, and it's self-moderating. It's magic. I love it. And it works for everything. And it has people, I'm collecting a huge list of bonus results, like you're actually counting for all those long notes. You're not waiting for the next moment of tonguing or changing notes, but the long note is music too. My wife had a coaching, and she came in watching me teach this, and she said her singing coach said, he calls it renewing the vowel on each beat on those long notes. It's really neat. Yeah,
that's a great term.
If long notes weren't music too, then I wouldn't be able to legally call myself a musician.
Totally, horn players too. Exactly. Oh yeah, and they wait to do all these things, all the tonguing into that we practice the licks and we skip the long notes. Yeah. So we play a bunch of stuff, and then we around 8:00 we play some Bach quartets, and we put that up on the big screen. And play some Bach, and then we get into some John Williams, and usually end with Star Wars, and post our Bach performance of the week up on Facebook, and it's for every parents. And it's at 8:30 we all go for coffee. But we talk about, and while they're playing, I'm talking about what they're doing and why they're doing it. Right, that structure of broken it down to a few structures. One is process, product, and purpose. And process is the lamest of the three, but it made the list. My mom sent me a funny email with some sayings, and one of which was, "The last thing I want to do is hurt you, but it's still on my list." So the process is the lamest of the three, but it made the list. So process is how, and you work on that, but you're doing that so you can look at product, which is the sounds you're making. I wonder about how many people, when they're asked by a conductor to make it louder, that they just blow out, and they respond to a product request with a process response and just blow harder. Oh, this is what louder is blowing. But you got to get listening into the product and play by the sounds and make the sounds you have a clear idea of that before as well. And then purpose is the best place to be. I'm playing my best when I'm just story based, and I'm just spinning a story. I know it's in minor because of this event, and this note's on beat 1, so it has a different reason why. So I tell them about that phrase to hear and be doing it for this. Oh yeah, open your hand. Oh, by the way, open your hand. Say that a lot. Open your hand, open your elbow. And then the other big structure thing, top down, most important is timing, and then tone, which is timing, tone, tune, and then tongue. And the least important is tongue. Add that to what you're doing. But timing starts before you make a sound, and then tone is as classical musicians, that's the thing we decide the most, is tone. What colors and where do we crescendo to, and where are we going? So tone is just a loud and soft on one note. And then on that one note, you can add tune. You can change notes if you want, but don't affect tone when you add tune. That phrase has to get louder and softer in a simple way. And if you're slurring especially, you don't need to show the rhythm. We'll get the rhythm from when the pitches change. Don't push to change those notes. Have it be like a singer, just sure that, those simplest shape that happens to change pitch, and then tongue at the bottom of those things. So that's maybe some templates that might be helpful.
Wow.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's really phenomenal.
That's right there.
You're smart.
Yeah. I'm old.
Yeah, well.
I've way underestimated your intelligence.
Okay. Wait, is that hard to do? Easy to do? Crap.
That's awfully smart for a guy who won a job with Montreal by air at breath attacking. That's pretty funny, man. It's like, you're good. Let me guess. One of your buddies, like the night before, was drunk. Like, I bet you can't win this audition without using tongue. And you're like, I bet I can. Bet me $500 US. That's really fascinating. So the problem with someone like Jeff, this happened with I interviewed Jeff for the Entrepreneurial Musician podcast, plug for episode 5, and it was the exact same thing where I could have talked to him for 3 hours. Like every answer that you have makes me think of 3 new lines of questioning that are that would be, I'm guessing, interesting to the entire audience. But we're just about out of time here. What do you have going on moving forward? I think we got to hit that before we wrap.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you're talking about too reminds me of, and Lance, we keep trying to have some events together, so we got to do that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure we could. You've got to do a couple days of discussions and then have them go do it and come back. What'd you learn? What worked for you? What are you going to do more of? That's the big question in the practice room. What,
Yes.
When 0.0001% better, that's a success. Yay!
Right.
What happened? Get them thinking that way. And really,
Amen.
Mastery.
Yeah.
So other than the stuff that the 3 of us are going to do together, what do you have going on?
Just kind of sitting around waiting for you to call, I think.
That's
if you don't mind. And I got some more gum under my table.
Wait, now he's speaking in code. Hold
on. I don't. It got weird
again.
again.
It was like almost an hour ago, Lance. Well, you just listen to the tape.
We had just it was like 15 straight minutes of just straight protein and no weirdness, and then you brought us back.
Oh, and by the way, I really good record here. I want to put them together so it's not hard to edit.
Love you, Austin.
Yeah, sorry, Austin. Thank you. Not much, man. This week, the TED Talk last night was the huge event, and it went really well. I was really pleased and relieved. And now I'm playing Shostakovich Cello Concerto, just the horn part, and Beethoven 2 this week with the Indie Chamber Orchestra. That's going to be cool. And I got a couple of people coming into town to work on the video course and get as much done before the baby comes. My wife is due January 12th, so it's going to be an awesome Christmas. And just try and get it all done and off the plates. And I don't do anything till February. I go out to Edmonton, play some concerto and stuff, and then out with the St. Louis Brass Quintet for a week. Dan Parantoni, bless his heart, poor guy. Love that man. And that group is really, really fun. And some other stuff. I'm going back to South Africa this summer. I love that sentence. I can't believe to say that. The Stellenbosch Chamber Festival is just incredible. Greatest string players I've ever. I can't get enough of the concerts and play too. A bunch of but the really great thing for me at 45 now is, with the baby coming, I've said no more than ever. And I think it's been wonderful. And it's been great for the things I didn't say no to. I get more time to do those things. And so I think I'm going to do more of that too, and be home. I have a great house. I just got an air hockey table for my birthday. So I got some stuff to do here.
That's phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Trying to get better at saying no to stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
As am I. I've got a few overachieving students that say yes to absolutely everything, and I yell at them and about that. And every once in a while, I realize that I need to be maybe recording it and playing it for myself on my drive home.
Yeah. The good thing, I think, a good way to put it, think about it and find out how to let go of that is that we'll just end up saying no to better and better things. Because there's such great things. It's so hard to say no.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, man, I'm ready to, after you talking about that routine with your studio, I'm ready to go practice. So
sweet.
Yeah, we're about to interview John Rojak right after this for the episode after you, but we might just cancel it. I got to go I got some work to do.
That's right. Tone first, baby.
And I can speak for him. Lance has some work to do as well. So
what?
Yeah.
This is recorded, right? You can play it for him.
Yes, I can play it for him. Yes, for sure, I can play it for him. So slow it down. Oh boy. Well, Jeff, this is in terms of mindset, in terms of the operating of the horn, in terms of entrepreneurship, and a definition that absolutely nailed it in terms of business skills, speaking, auditioning. If this interview hasn't inspired you, then I don't know what the heck is wrong with you. So, and I mean that. So. Thank you so much, Jeff. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah, of course.
I'll have to have you back.
Yeah, we will definitely have you back for sure.
I don't care what anybody says. You're a jerk.
Yeah.
Dude, got a piece of gum here just for you.
Yeah, I bet you do. And that does it for another episode of The Brass Junkies. You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to help support the podcast in order to make more episodes like this one possible, please visit pedalnotemedia.com/donate for more details. Also, be sure to check out our latest recording, The Brass Recording Project, at brassrecordingproject.com. The Brass Junkies is produced by Austin Boyer and Buddy Deschler of the Fredericksburg Brass Institute. Executive producers are Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.